NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and you're listening to The Wrestling Lounge. Hi, this is Mark Merrill, former Intercontinental Champion with the World Wrestling Entertainment, and Johnny B. Bad, three-time World Television Champion. You are listening to The Wrestling Lounge with Brian Vaughn and Harold Martin. Don't turn that down, or it's going to be a lesson to teach you a lesson.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wrestling Lounge. I had to throw that in of the One Life to Live theme because our guest today, she was on Loving Ryan's Hope, One Life to Live for so many years, General Hospital, Another World. And I want to right now bring on my co-host, Harold. Harold, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Brian. Look forward to this great show today.
I really think it'll be a great one. And fans, before we bring on Ilene Kristen, want to let you know if you have a question for her, call in at 773-897-6289 and press 1. If you call in and the lines are busy, keep calling. We will get to you as soon as possible. And without further ado, let's bring on Ilene Kristen.
Hey there. How are you?
Hey. Doing good. How are you doing?
I love the way you say wrestling. You say wrestling.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. What's going on, guys?
Well, I want to ask you, what was it that made you decide that you wanted to be an actress?
Well, wow. I started. I was very inclined to it even at a very, very early age. But my parents took me to see the show The Fantastics when it first opened. That's probably one of the longest running show. I think it's still running off Broadway. And it ran, the first go round, it ran about 40 years. And they took me to see it when I was about 7. And I decided right then and there that that's what I would be doing. I really heard a voice inside of me say, you're going to be doing this. So I kind of knew it even back then. And I started working, I wouldn't say I started working professionally at 9, but I was dancing with a Latin dance team when I was 9 years old. And I was playing the hotel circuit out in Long Beach, Long Island, with very famous Latin groups, Tito Rodriguez, Tito Puente, and Johnny Pacheco. So that was quite interesting, And I just knew that that's what I would be doing, and I didn't officially start working as a professional until I was 14. I got my first paycheck when I was 14 years old. Great.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got a very, very early start at it.
Yeah. I didn't think I'd be doing a soap opera. My life seemed to be going in another area. I had done 2 Broadway shows. I did a Broadway show when I was 15 years old, and I did the original Company of Grease on Broadway. The original company of it, before they made the movie.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about what character you played and
I played
how that was?
The little brat, Patty Simcox, the cheerleader. She wasn't so prominent in the movie, but in the show, she was the villain.
Oh, okay.
And it was quite an interesting experience to play that particular character because I was so unlike that. I was kind of always the class clown, and not that I ever really got into trouble as a kid, but I was always the one making wisecracks under my, under my breath.
Yeah.
And Patty was the goody two shoes, and that really wasn't me. I already been out on the circuit doing Latin dance, and actually I was a jazz dancer, and so it was just playing this cheerleader thing was very odd, but it was a great experience, and I did that show on Broadway for 2 years. So my life was really going in a different direction. What were you going to say?
Do you prefer being a good guy do you prefer being a hero or a villain?
Oh, character that's kind of got some ulterior motives going on. In my own life, I'm a pretty good person. I always really try to do the right thing. So I like kind of playing people who have to wrestle with their conscience a little bit more and who kind of live outside the law rather than doing everything, within the law. I love doing Roxy because to me Roxy was, I always said that playing Roxy was the most fun that you could have. Boy, someone's trying to get me on my other line. When you hear those beeps, somebody's looking for me. But I've been getting a lot of calls from boy, they just won't stop. I don't know if you can hear it, but boy, that's annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when Ryan's Hope, the one show that you didn't mention, when Ryan's Hope came up, I was not very interested in doing it at first. And my agent kind of had to talk me into even going in for it because I felt like my life was really going in a completely other direction. I wanted to make people laugh. That's really what my main concern was. So I was, that was one concern. Also, I had sung with a lot of rock bands, so I was really toying around with just being in a rock band and writing. And so when Ryan's Hope came up, I wasn't totally interested in it until I read the background of the character, and I felt like I could really, because I was from New York, I felt that they needed somebody who really had that New York experience and was a creature of the streets, and I felt like I was. And, my audition went really well, and I could see by the look on their faces that they had made a decision that, they were going with me. So there was, no way out. It was a great experience, Ryan's Hope. It was a great experience, but it was certainly not what I had expected to do. And sometimes I look back and I go, I'm not so certain that was the right decision because it kind of led me down a path that in a lot of ways has been great, but doesn't totally express a lot of parts of me. That's why I do a lot of theater, and that's why I do the music also.
Well, I know you mentioned you like the character of Roxy, and so did I, but I wanted to ask you, who came up with the nickname Foxy Roxy?
I think they did when they were naming the beauty parlor. I think they came up with it, or I don't think I did, but I'm not. That's a really good question. I think the writers did, but the wonderful thing about they and I didn't know this, but they printed up cards. The prop department printed up cards saying, "Foxy Roxy's, your hair always grows, so we never close."
that's
and
funny.
I thought that was so beautiful. I really loved playing that character. I love playing Delia, but I really, really, really love playing Roxy. It was kind of a dream of mine to play a character like that because it really took all the comedic chops that I had, and I was really able to use them. So I miss that a lot. a lot.
Now, were you ever considered for the movie Grease when it came up?
Well, the funny thing is that I could have been, but I was doing Delia at that time, and I actually really didn't. They asked me to go back to Greece when someone was on vacation, and I didn't want to go back as Patty. I wanted to go back as Marty, the character that sings Freddie, My Love, because I felt that was the character I should have gotten cast in the first place. Of course, I was Patty to everybody, so when I said, well, I'll come back as Marty, they went, no, we're asking you to come back as, Patty. And I ran into John Travolta, because I had done the stage show with John when he was playing the character of Duty, and I ran into John. He was shooting, I used to live on 76th Street, and John was shooting Saturday Night Fever. And so I ran into John, and I sat with him in his trailer, and I said, well, should I go in for the show? I knew he was doing the movie, and he said, I don't. He said, Eileen, I don't really like the way they wrote Patty so much. So I don't know if you'd be interested. I don't know if you'd really be interested in it. And looking back at it, it wouldn't have been the worst decision had I just gone in, because I think had I gone in for it, I probably would have gotten it. In fact, I know I would have gotten it. But it didn't seem to be really what I totally wanted to. I didn't really want to play that kind of character. I wanted to play, one of the bad girls. Because I was playing Delia, the ultimate bad girl. So I really, just wasn't interested in going backwards.
Oh, okay.
We have a fan on hold. I'm gonna bring him on and let him ask you a question.
Okay.
Okay. 425. You're on the air.
Hey guys. Hey, Irene.
Hi.
I'm a big fan of you, and I host my own radio show, Daytime After Dark, and I would love to do an interview with you two, because I watched you ever since Brian's Hope, and love you as Roxy on.
Oh, thank you.
No,
thank you.
I thought Roxy made the show, and Unforgettable when you were on that, and Law and Order. You've been in all my favorites. What was it like to get to have Rex, John Paul as the son? You guys had the chemistry.
We worked well together, didn't we? We worked very well together. That was great. He had never done a soap before, and he was just terrific. He was a real pro. A real pro. So I enjoyed working with him. I hear that he just got a gig on Days of Our Lives, and I'm very happy about that for him. Very happy. We haven't spoken in years, but I've left him a lot of messages.
Oh, bad son. No, I'm kidding. Well, if you want to come on my show, it's Daytime After Dark.
Okay.
And Brian knows how to get a hold of me.
That would be great.
I love you on General Hospital as Delia, and I love you and Ava. Mala Westview, Cabano, and you are doing a great job on there.
Well, thank you. They're not calling me enough, but maybe we can change that around. I haven't heard from them in months. I haven't heard from them in months, and I felt that they really haven't used me as fully as they could. But they have a lot of characters that they're writing for, and also they have a lot of characters that have been on that show for a long time, and I don't know how much they want to mix, that Delia situation in there, because I don't know if it's true to what their story is. But I think the way the way they wrote it was pretty good. But I don't do acting as a hobby, and I don't like approaching my work as an occasional thing. It's like you hire me for a real friggin' job,
I agree, and we will be sending tweets and Facebook to get you back on. And like I said, I hope you do my show. Brian knows how to get a hold of me. And have a great day, you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for calling in, Carla, and I'll be sure and let Eileen know.
Bye-bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Great. All right, I'm getting work from this.
Yeah,
I have to get a paying job.
Yeah, that's
Is there
that's
wrestling in my
shows,
future, you think?
I don't know. I mean, who would you like to wrestle? I mean, is there a women wrestler out there you'd like to fight?
Oh God, they'd destroy me. They'd destroy me. You know, they would destroy me. I think yoga. I think I'm more of the yoga type.
Speaking of Rex, I wanted to ask you, in your character, how was it for you whenever you had to tell him that he was not your son? How was that for you?
Now say that again. You got me confused here. When it turns out he wasn't my son?
Yes.
I never told him that. I never listen. I can't even explain to you how weird that was. I found out that he wasn't my son by Scott Clifton, who was playing whatever character, and Scott and I are walking down the staircase, and he goes, by the way, you're actually my mother. And I turned around and I went, what? And he goes, yeah, Rex isn't your son, I'm your son. And I went, wait a minute, let me get down to a landing because I think I'm going to trip. The writers never tell you certain things. And I actually, I resented that in a way because I think I'm a grown-up, and I think as an actor you need to know certain things, but writers don't feel compelled to tell you, and I don't, you know what, I don't even want to express what I really feel about that because because I just feel like sometimes it's like I think they should have shown that I actually was his mother, after all. That we could have had this whole adventure where I wasn't his mother, but then it should have come back that I was. Not Echo.
Yeah,
I don't know who was his mother. Echo? I don't know. I mean,
y'all both had phenomenal chemistry. I mean, if there was ever a mother and son on TV on a soap opera, it was you. It was you and John.
No, I know that.
Rex.
I know that, and I think they should have wound the story. They kept me out of that story. They kept me out of a lot of stories that I should have been more deeply involved in. It's just, look, you're writing for a lot of characters, but the difference between doing a soap back in the 70s and 80s and doing a soap now is that, and I'm going to quote Catherine Hicklin, the great Catherine Hicklin. We'd have these scenes, and she goes, wow, this scene is like a drive-by. Meaning that it never went into the details the way people really do in life. It didn't, and then it would be like, blah, 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 end of scene. Then the next scene would pick up, and you go, blah, 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 end of scene. On Ryan's Hope, we used to do 10-page scenes. Now, that's a bit long, I know. But that was the way. People got so involved in a character because they saw you making these transitions in the course of a 10-page scene. It was like watching a play. And I think they got into the soul of the character. And now it's just like these sound bites. It's like a tweet. You don't know anything about someone from a tweet particularly. So, I don't know. I don't think they give the audience enough credit for really having great concentration. I think the audience is very, very smart. And I don't think they give the audience credit for being smart or for having an attention span. And I think that's wrong because you see a show like Breaking Bad. A show like that was one of the most brilliant things I've ever seen. And scenes took a certain amount of length. Those scenes would be long scenes. You'd watch Bryan Cranston make 10 different changes of what his character had to do and think about and be. And watch the evolution of a human being. And that's what Ryan's Hope did so beautifully. Claire Labine and Paul Mayer, they took the time. I mean, it was a different world then, but scenes were very long, and you understood not just my character, but you understood Maeve and Johnny, and it was just amazing. And when on One Life to Live, when we would do long scenes, they paid off. It paid off for the show, and it paid off for the actor. You know, so the drive-by crap. It's like it just becomes about nothing. It becomes about getting to the next scene. So.
And
anyway.
I've noticed a lot of times on the soap operas, and maybe you know why they do this, Eileen, but I was just wondering. I noticed a lot of time on soap operas, when they're doing a scene, a lot of the scenes will have music behind them, and a lot of times people don't notice that, but I was wondering why they do that.
Why they have music? Because soap operas have always had music. Hey, is that a good segue to talk about my music?
Yeah.
Because I'm not getting off the show without talking about my music.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we are gonna get into that, I promise. But I wanted to ask you, how was it for you doing your first scene on One Life to Live, meeting Vicky when you actually debuted?
It was
as
a
Roxy?
phenomenal day. First of all, those scenes were brilliant. Lorraine Broderick and Chris Witzel wrote them. I think they wrote them. They were brilliant. That's all I have to say. It was a great day. Working with Erica that day, because I was nervous. It was fantastic. It was 3 weeks after 9/11 happened. Everybody was shell-shocked. I had a goal to entertain people in a way that I felt that they needed to be entertained after being shell-shocked. It was an amazing day. Gary Tomlin was the producer. Frank Valentini, of course, was right underneath him. And it was one of the most special days I have ever had in my life. And I have to thank Erica for that, because Erica was so gracious and so wonderful. And I had not worked there and, worked on a soap for a while. And Gary Tomlin came out on the floor and he goes, "What are you doing for a while?" I mean, I knew I wasn't just going on there for a week or 2 weeks or 3. I knew that this character had legs on it. But it was written so brilliantly. It gave everything a writer needed to write in a sequence of scenes was there. Everything. And you don't get that often.
Yeah.
So it set me up for 10 years.
Wow. Yeah, I watched that clip yesterday, and when Vicky, walked up to Roxy and said, Jessica, Natalie has your daughter, or whatever, and you said, "What are you talking about? She was my housekeeper. I got her out of here. She's a brat and everything." And Vicky's like, "How can
I go like, "Natalie,
like that?"
Natalie, what a pain." Well, no, it was brilliant. It was, and listen, I did a great job with it. I have to say, I did a great job. There were lots of laughs in that scene, but there was also everything going on with Roxy, her anger, her this, her that, her drunkenness, her sloppiness. It was more than I could ever ask for. And I felt, the expression in the zone. I was in the zone. Period. It was a great day. Truly a great day. So, you don't get those that often. It was wonderful.
You got a question, Harold?
Yeah. Then I'll ask one more question, then we'll let her talk about her music.
Okay.
Did you have any favorite love interest over your acting?
Well, of course, everybody knows that I work with the fantastic Ron Hale, and on Ryan's Hope, and Malcolm Groom. Malcolm Groom was stupendous. Ron Hale was great. and I loved working with James DePaiva. That was very sad. They did not do the Roxy and Max story. It worked really, really well. The audience went crazy, and then someone decided that we're not going to do that, and then they let Jim go. And wrong. They shouldn't have. And I loved working with him, and we had such an the wedding, the stuff that I did with Jim for the wedding of Roxy and Max, when he's drunk, he is drunk out of his mind, and I played straight person to him. And that stuff, my first year on One Life to Live was amazing. It was as good as any writing that I had worked on Ryan's Hope. And funny and clever and, all you could ask for. All you could ask for. And then we did that Babes Behind Bars. We did the whole musical thing that took place in prison. I mean, what a joy. What a joy. I can't say enough about it.
And also I never will forget the musical y'all did on One Life to Live. That was awesome.
Well, the high school musical or the Babes Behind Bars?
The high school musical where they did the, I think it was called Star XD or something.
Yeah, I don't know if I was in that at all. I might have been in the Our Lips Are Sealed one that we did in my beauty parlor. I don't know if that. I don't think that was part of the high school musical.
That's the one I'm talking about.
I'm a little too old for high school, so
parlor.
I don't think I was there. Oh, the one in the beauty parlor was a hoot.
Yes, that was good.
What a hoot! I'm telling you, we did stuff on that show. It was what a group of people. What a group of people. When we did the spoof on the Fraternity Row, it was brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah, wasn't that the one where the show got canceled and you said, no, I can't believe it got canceled.
Well, I played like the Vicky character, and Vicky played the maid, and everybody played some other crazy character, and, oh my God, it was incredible. It was incredible. So.
Well,
anyway.
let's talk about your debut album, I'm Not Done With You Yet, that is now available on iTunes and Amazon. You can listen to it by samples, or you can actually buy the whole album.
No, I think they should just buy it. You know what? Surprise yourself. You can listen to the samples, and don't just buy one song. I worked really hard on this album. It sells for $9.99. If you can't do that from me, someone you've been watching all these years, you can't do nothing. And I wrote everything on it with a variety of different co-writers. But I'd say for each song, I wrote pretty much 70% of everything. I wrote all the words.
Wow.
I think it's very jazzy. I'm very happy about this. I finished it a while ago, and it took me a while to bring it out because I thought maybe I could get a small label to put it out, but, you really don't need that anymore. And I wrote from my heart and my soul. There's a song on it called Flesh and Blood that I wrote right after 9/11. I wrote it, about 9/11, but I also wrote it about my dear friend Nancy Addison, who played Jillian on Ryan's Hope, when we knew that she was going to die. We didn't want her to, but it looked like that was going to happen, and I ended up singing Flesh and Blood at her funeral. There's a lot. There's a lot of songs in there that mean a lot to me. I wrote a song called Old School Thing about the music that I grew up with, like Stevie Wonder and Steely Dan and Carole King and Van Morrison, Jose Feliciano, and longing for real music. And there's a lot of novelty songs out now, but there's not a lot of songs. Like Stevie Wonder really wrote songs. They weren't novelty songs. They were, I mean, songs like "I'm All About the Bass," those are nice songs, but those are like novelty songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that you
Now,
write for a cartoon character.
What is the song "Still in Love with Love" mean? What is that? What is
that about? Okay. Well, I originally wrote it for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary. I knew I was going to be performing at a party that my parents were giving, so I wrote this song, 50 Years of Love, and I wrote it with David Spinoza, who's a pretty famous guitar player, a very famous guitar player. And then when I was done performing 50 Years of Love, because it was very particular to a couple that had been married for 50 years, and then I realized that I really wanted to change the song and make it a real song, and about, being, still wanting to be in love and still knowing that being in love is a great thing, and having somebody in your life that you could share things with. One of the lines is, "When the day is done and I've run adrift, you take my hand and my spirits lift. It's a situation fits like a glove. I'm still in love with love."
Oh, that's so cool. That is so cool.
To be with somebody that you really care about and love, and that person has your back. And at the time that I wrote that, I didn't really have that. I feel like I have it now, but I didn't really have it at that time. I had it, and it just that song really was about a wish that I had. But I noticed it in my parents, so I was very inspired by them. And it's probably the most romantic song that I've ever written, actually.
Well, I noticed listening to the samples and stuff, and I'll probably end up buying the CD because
not probably you will.
I will buy the CD, but just want to let you know though that so many of these songs you wrote, I noticed they had a jazz feeling behind them, and
yes.
I don't know why, but it kind of, when you were singing, it was amazing. You got an amazing singing voice, and
thank you.
I don't know. Oh, you're welcome, but I don't know why. But when I was listening to these songs, I felt the character of Roxy, with the jazz feeling behind it. I don't know why, but I just felt the character of Roxy from One Life to Live. I mean,
right. Well, yeah, yes. I mean, they let me sing, of course, on One Life to Live, and actually though, that's Ilene. The CD is really Ilene. I mean, whatever Ilene sounds like, without a costume or without a weird hairdo, that is really me. The music and the music that I write, I don't deal with other personas. I'm really dealing with my own persona. And it's the truest Ilene. When people come to see my club act, they go, "Well, that's really Ilene." And I actually play Ilene pretty well in life,
Well, I want to let the fans know out there that there are actually 12 songs on this album, and it's actually called "I'm Not Done With You Yet." And the 12 songs: Lion's Den, 5 O'Clock Shadow, Old School Thing, Flesh and Blood, While the Whole World James, I'm Not Done With You Yet, which is actually the title of the album.
Right.
No Matter What, Still in Love with Love, Master Plan, Could Have Been, Rise to the Occasion. There's also a 5 O'Clock Shadow late night remix. So exactly this 5 O'Clock Shadow, what is that song about? Because there's two different versions.
Well, you know what a 5 o'clock shadow is? It's a man's beard at 5 o'clock if they shave in the morning, and some men, start developing stubble at 5 o'clock. And there was someone I wrote this in mind with, someone who I was involved with, and I had a great deal of affection for them. They were someone that I knew ever since we were 18 years old, and that song wrote itself in 20 minutes. And it was just about this interesting and odd relationship. But that song wrote itself. I wrote it with Scott Yanni, my producer, and we wrote Old School Thing together, and we also wrote Master Plan. But 5 O'Clock Shadow, I wanted to write a song reminiscent of something that the great singer Peggy Lee would have done if she was living now. You know, Peggy, I wanted to write a song like Fever, you know, and that's how 5 O'Clock Shadow happened. Because 5 O'Clock Shadow also meant, you know, sometimes what happens at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you know, when the shadows start coming up, and there's a lot of double meanings in 5 O'Clock Shadow, but it's a pretty sexy little song, I think.
Now,
especially the late night remix of it.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. We a lot of times don't know when our guests are through talking, and you know we go to talk and then we stop because you know our guests are still talking. You know, so
of course.
But
if we were sitting in front of each other, that wouldn't be happening. But when you're on the phone like that, it's you know, it happens all the time.
Yes, but I have a wild guess on a song. The song called "Could Have Been." Is that about what could have been? You know, but it wasn't.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And boy, and there it really was. And I wrote it. Yes, and it's exactly what happened. It started in the summer. It looked like it was going to be a relationship. The fall came, and it was like the guy was like really scared. And then winter came. And boy, and that was the hardest song to write for many, many, many reasons. Because it was written in a bossa nova beat, and there were only a certain amount of syllables that you could have in a line, and it was the hardest song to write. And I wrote it on the subway going out to Brooklyn where I was recording, but every day I would tackle this thing, and then I knew that we had to do it that day, and I promised that I would have the lyrics, and somehow. But boy, I had to actually chart that song out with paper and syllables and counting syllables, and knowing that I wanted to do it about the seasons and about how the weather was changing and how this relationship this relationship that should have been and could have been wasn't going to be. And it was a very sad song. Very sad song for me.
Well, I see we've got 2 minutes until the deadline because we said that we'd go off the air at 2:40. Before we go off the air, is there anything that you would like to promote to the fans out there?
Well, if they would just buy my whole CD, whether on Amazon or iTunes, that's the first thing. And also, if they really want to see me back on General Hospital, if they could, tweet Frank Valentini or the new head writer Shelley Altman, because I feel like my days aren't over there yet, but I kind of feel like they need a reminder, maybe, So
yeah, I think you need a long-term role on there, to be honest with you.
Well, I would love that, and I would move out there if I had to, so that's not a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to go to work full time. I don't like part-time. I'm not a part-timer.
I got to say before we go that you and Kathleen Gaddy are two of my favorites because as I tell Brian, it's like when you're on, it's like must-see watching because it's like to me you guys just chew up the scenery. You just it's like
she is fantastic, and we did a movie together. We did this horrible movie together called The Shaman. I don't know if this movie is out on video or whatever, but Kathleen, actually, her boyfriend, either wrote it or something, and she was one of the producers, and she is phenomenal. She's a great person. I have to say that she's been the friendliest person to me there, really welcomed me, and she's a creative, just a creative, wonderful human being. I adore her.
I know.
So
when we had her on,
I feel like I'm in good company.
I know that when we had her on a while back, when she came on the show, she was talking. We said, "Oh wow," well, because we honestly didn't know that she didn't talk like that talk like Dr. O on the show. And when she came on, she was talking how she normally talks, and she said, "Well, I had y'all food, didn't I?" And we said, "Yeah, because we didn't know
right.
that."
Right. Brian, if I have to do this Southern thing, I have to do this Texas thing this Sunday, but boy, I don't know. I'm kind of feeling your accent.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm going to be doing the Georgia accent when I do this Texas show.
Okay, that'll be great.
Yeah.
If you do that.
I'm playing a character named Honey Ray.
Oh.
Honey Ray.
Okay.
Yeah. Sounds like a country music star.
Well, she kind of is. She's a man crazy, wild woman. She's Roxy, but she's Southern. So it's gonna be fun. A lot of fun.
Okay.
And you have to take a word that's got one syllable and make it into 3 syllables.
Well, we want to thank you so much for coming on, Ilene, and we wish you the best in your music and
thank you
and everything you do, and we hope you'll come back again sometime in the future.
I will. Absolutely. You can count on that. Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank
you. You're very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to this week's edition of The Wrestling Lounge. And don't forget to tune in each and every time it goes live on the air for the biggest names in professional wrestling, soap operas, country and western music, and so much more.